Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 35 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. Oh, it's a busy day today. We're getting these podcasts out, flowing and growing, and it's just an honor for me to have so many great people who are willing to spend their time and energy with me and share their message and share their story. My guest now today is no exception to that. Dr. David Spencer, welcome to the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Brother Jake, and it's an honor to be here. You're doing so good with Hunger for the Hustle. Good name.
Thank you. It's I'd like to say it's a pleasure, and I'm just honoured that so many people want to come on and share their story, and I provide this platform to do that. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Great.
Now, Dr. David Spencer, I know Kingdom Mindset Development. That's your thing, right? You're a counselor and a coach. I've been looking and consulting your website, and you got an interesting story, and I really can't wait to share it with the audience today. And to really encompass that story, David, I want to go back to the earlier days of your life. I know you dropped out of school at quite a young age, didn't finish school, and at that point didn't have much direction or purpose. And perhaps you could tell us a bit more about that time in your life. I know it's the 60s. It was a different time to the world, the way the world is now.
Right, yeah. Well, it's getting almost the same way. But yeah,
Sure.
I grew up in a city called New Bedford. And back in the early 60s, I was just a teenager around 68 or 69. And I never really liked school because I knew what I wanted to do. And I would always have like music magazines inside my school book because I wanted to play music. And they wouldn't let, they didn't want to emphasize that. And I believe that if you train up a child in the way he should go, he'll be successful, right? And so that was the way I should have been led. But anyway, we moved from the urban into the suburbs. And there, it was a whole different story because now I was maybe two families of color that lived in this town. So when I started going to junior high school, I was already what you would call a thug today, back then in my day. So when I went to Fairhaven, I already had a little reputation at 16 years old, but I started right away running around with the guys who were, in trouble. That's what we did, and played music. And during the 60s, there was Watergate, there was the Black Panthers, there was the British invasion, Kent State, you name it. Wounded Knee, all kind of things were going on. And so I was just free. It was just a time of everything was peace and do your thing and free everything. So when I left school, I pursued music, and, sex, drugs, rock and roll, fell into that whole thing. Fell into it, did it all. But at age 32, I decided that my life wasn't going anywhere. I already had been married, had a child already, and played a lot of music, traveled to Europe, all over the place. And I don't read or write music, but my passion and the favor of God on my life opened doors. So wherever I went, I always took a guitar, no matter what. And I would get a gig. So was traveling a lot during my, say, between 16 and 30, traveling and doing even off-Broadway musicals, and John Williams and the Boston Pops doing a thing with them, 90,000 people, things like that. And it was good. But I still wasn't satisfied. So at 32, 16 years after I left school, I decided that I got to go back. I was a mess. Everything was out of whack. I was actually going to commit suicide. I was just sick of me. And I had developed in hurting people because of being a drug dealer and all that stuff. Really felt down. But anyway, that's when I met Christ, and I said, okay, I'm going to go back to school. So I went to night school, got the GED with a teacher who kept on me. She kept saying, you can do it, Dave. And I would say, no, I can't. I like to read and I like history, but this math is not working for me. And every time we had class, she'd come by my desk and say, what do you think, Dave? The test is coming up. What do you think? And I kept saying, Miss Morris, it's just, I don't think I can do this, But I tell you what, it got to the point where I was so sick of her coming and challenging me that I said, I'm just going to do it for her, and whatever happens, happens. So I did, and I passed everything.
Wow, first time.
So that was great. But I'll tell you the truth. Want to hear something funny? I'd be taking the test, right, and filling in the blanks. And when I got to something I didn't know, I went like this. God's honest truth. I went, your turn. And then I marked wherever he told me. Past everything. So life changed after that. Life changed after that for the better.
Yeah, sure did. And Miss Morris, I think it's important. I know something we've been. Well, you learned it then. I've only kind of just learned it that letting someone have belief in you before you have belief in yourself, and just going with it and putting full faith in them. It's a very powerful thing. And perhaps you were doing it to some end just because you were like, I got to get this lady off my back. I just got to get these exams, give them a shot, and give it a pass. And isn't that amazing that you went from not knowing whether to do it? I know at the time you're having a bit of low self-esteem and self-confidence, but letting Miss Morris have that faith in you, and you passed, and then the world started really opening up for you.
Yeah, what happened then? I end up. Matter of fact, I went to the GED because I wanted to go to Bible school, but you couldn't get in without a high school diploma. So I said, well, I'm going to get it because I didn't go there to study to be a pastor or anything. I just wanted to be in a positive atmosphere like we're in now with our coaches, where there's energy and people like-minded. So I got accepted and I went to Dallas, Texas and lived there for 2.5 years. And same thing happened there. Another teacher, a professor. I was 35 when I went there. Everybody else was like 19, 20, 21. And he took me up his wing. And when I was getting ready to graduate, he said, Dave, he mentored me. He said, what are you going to do when you leave here? I said, I don't know, Dr. Axtell. I'm just, I'm going to call my dad, see what's going on back there. And my father said, ain't nothing going on back here. He said, stay there. But then Mr. Axtell, Professor Axtell, asked me if he could send my transcripts to another school. And I said, sure. And the other school accepted me. So I ended up getting a Bachelor of Theology, a Master's of Divinity, and then the PhD. Then I started working for the school, teaching and training and graduating maybe 100 students with a associate's degree. But this is why I'm so much about dropout prevention and trying to help these young guys and the teachers not to quit, not to get afraid, because most of the tough guys, they're really listening. They're really listening. They just want to make it look like they ain't listening because they don't want to lose their rep. But they're there and they're really listening. All they need is some love, like Mr. Morris gave me. And after I graduated, I went and bought a dozen roses. I had my dissertation, which I did on recidivism because I work in a lot of prisons. I took a copy of that, a dozen roses, and I took her to a nice seafood restaurant in Cape Cod and thanked her, because I feel like crying when I think about it, because she passed away not too long ago. But if it wasn't for her, bro, reaching back and really encouraging me, I wouldn't be here now. And I've been blessed because of that education. And just in the ministry, I've just excelled in that. So I always knew what I wanted to do since then. And I've spoken in Malaysia and Ghana and Israel and London, a lot of places, Cape Verde, things like that, and in the schools as well as the churches, because I want to encourage the teachers and the students. Don't quit. Don't give up. We need each other, and them kids really need the teachers.
Yeah. It's amazing how, and look, I'll be honest, this has happened to me in the recent times with the training I've been through in the Power Voice with Les Brown and more lately John Salarico in the Thinking into Results. Sometimes these people come into your life and life just changes for you in an instant. In the moment, sometimes you don't see it. It took me a couple of weeks or months to realize it, but you look back in just a short time. For you, there was 32 by 35, 36. You gone from GHD to PhD, and it just can turn around for you so quickly when you have the right people around you and have that bit of guidance and mentorship and belief in you. And thank goodness that they did come to you at the right time, because like you say, you might not still be here today, and you certainly wouldn't be sharing your message like you have all around the world.
And I knew about Les 30 years ago, a guy in my church that looks just like Les. I could show you a picture of him, brother. And he told me about Les back in the Amway days and stuff like that. And so I had bought all his cassettes back then, and printed all the stuff out, about what to say and prospects and all that. but at that time I was so involved in building the ministry. You know, I had bought a barroom in the worst part of town and turned it into a church, and so I was really focused on doing that work, and you know, had accolades from the White House all the way down for what we did in that community. So you know, when the opportunity came, I said, I'm gonna go ahead with Les because I like Les. You know, I like Les. I understand his era. He understands mine, and
Right.
I like the way he brings forth the word of God. You know, there's no doubt about it. He's just he's a spiritual man. He really
Yeah.
is. He knows his Bible. It ain't no joke. I know, I can tell because I know my Bible, and when I hear him, I'm like, yes, sir. That's good. That's good. He loves people. You know, he loves people. And ministry is all about loving and caring for people and bringing them, like with my ministry, kingdom mindset development is to develop the mindset of people with a kingdom attitude, which is a biblical or faith-based attitude, and then to bring them up, you know, out of the hole of depression, out of all that weight that's on them, and then bring them out into a new environment, a new mindset, right? And bring them there where they're not thinking about the past because everything's new. So they've got to be alert. And then coaching them into their journey. Okay, now let's see where you want to go. So that's kind of how I flow with this ministry. And then John has been such a blessing too. I've enjoyed all of them. You know, I'm with Champion Mindset, I'm with Less Power, and I'm with John because I love the energy. I love the people. I love all you guys, man. It's just so much progress and excitement. I get excited for you all. Yeah.
There's a lot of love flowing in them groups, and I got a lot of love for you too. You've been inspiring to me. It's just I've said it several times on this podcast, but I'll say it again because it's true. For me, I'm just going to turn this light down a little bit here because it's right in my eyes. For me, it was you know, I started to think, was I a bit crazy? You know, or outwardly positive all the time, in always could find a positive out of any situation, and always striving for different things, and I had a little bit of a different attitude and thought process towards things. And I started to think, where are these other people out there that like me? And then I found them within this group and thought, oh, thank goodness I'm not going crazy. And yeah, it's just brilliant to surround yourself with people that are striving for goals and want to achieve things, and not just for themselves, but are willing to help others as well.
Exactly.
And pretty much everyone in that space does that, right?
Yeah, and being encouraged, you know, and being accountable, you know, things like that. I mean, this is just wonderful. I really enjoy it. But again, like that less, I still go on and just listen because always nuggets coming out of him, always new nuggets. You know, to me, Brother Les, you know, like what he does, you've seen how he can take any story and turn it into something totally different, but yet a little more advanced. Well, to me, he's like when John told us to get the Stella Adler book about acting, and I said, boy, Les can act. I said he can take any story and he just absorbs it, and then he puts it out like it was his own. Amazing. But he's been a big inspiration to me. And again, as I reach back into these high schools and juvenile detention centers and even in the prisons and just coach them, because that's basically what I do with them, is bring them up and out of their depression. In prison, mainly once they're detoxed, they realize, man, I blew it. I messed up. Now they're zero and they're open to talk if they trust you. You know what I mean? You gotta earn that trust when you're there. And so yeah, I can be in there with 100 guys alone and hear a pin drop. I mean, I just love them. They know when you care. And so I'm believing. Matter of fact, I probably got 4 or 5 of them in my church. Yeah, they come. I make them my ushers because nobody mess with them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'd love to explore that more and talk about that. You know, some of your work in prisons, because it's not something I know much about, and I'm sure probably most of the audience won't know much about either. I mean, how does that actually play out? Do you go in there and you have a kind of a set amount of weeks or months that you go on separate visits, or is it just like a one-time thing?
Well, what it was is I had put in a grant with some other people to do a reentry program, you know, so when they get out, they can come out and hopefully stay out. But that's my dissertation on recidivism, because that's the door, round and round, coming in, going out, coming in.
Yeah.
So what happens is I end up getting hired by a company there, and he basically let me do what I do. Also, I would use a lot of John Maxwell material and a lot of programs like that, and help feed the guys positive things. But I would also teach substance abuse, all that crisis management, parenting, all those things, that come under that umbrella. And again, once you're in and you can get used to it, it's wonderful. It's so rewarding because you're given to those who can't give back to you. And it's like amazing, the love. I mean, listen, let me tell you a story. There's this one guy in there, pretty tough cookie, a wise guy. And we befriended each other. So he was getting out, and he said he'd going to come by the church. And I said, okay, I'll be there. So he came by, and I had a little trouble going on COs. So I left the prison. So then the director called me and said, Dave, please come back, because the guys won't do anything. They won't do anything. They said they're not going to do anything. So I said, okay, I'm coming back for the guys. I'm coming back because I left wrong. I shouldn't have left with an attitude the way I did. It was a bad example. So I went back. But prior to me going back, he called me. We'll call his name Joey. He called me and he says, hey, Pastor Dave, I heard you're going back in. I said, yeah, Joey, I'm going to go back and help the guys. He said, okay, everything's taken care of. The coast is clear. In other words, in that community, he had clout. You know what I mean? People knew if Joey said something, that's it. So I had free run of all the prison to go in, even with the women, to go in there and just encourage them and coach them and let them know that there's more in them than this. This was a mistake. They're not a mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you, when you first started working in there, was it a little bit intimidating, the environment? Was it something you had to get used to, or did you just take to it straight away?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of friends and family in there, so
okay.
So
you were going anyway.
A lot of them knew me already, so it's because I used to run with them. But see, when I received Christ, my life changed, and so now they watched me for years, and they saw that it wasn't any joke with me, because they knew even in the streets I was for real. You know what I mean? If I didn't play. It's either cook or get out the kitchen. If you owe me money, pay me, or something going to happen. You know what I mean? And so it was like that. But that same fire I took with me when I got saved and used it for good, flipped it around. So when I started going in, even the administrations were kind of like, Dave, how many people you know in here?
Oh, that's funny, man. So as well as educating, you were visiting some brothers you already knew in there.
And then I gave the job up because I went to a Christian reentry program, and I gave it up to this friend of mine who was a pastor looking for work. So when he went in, he wasn't too familiar with it, and would go in, and usually, you'd go in a certain room with maybe 20 guys or something to teach them, and he would leave the door open and put his chair there so the door wouldn't close. And so when I went in, they said, hey, Pastor Dave. I said, what's up? He said, what's the matter with your boy? He's scared, huh? I told him no guys would bother him. It was great. He's still there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Good to hear he's still there, and hopefully he can keep the door shut these days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can imagine though. If you're not used to that type of environment, those type of people, it could be a little bit intimidating for you going in there, and you got to command the space, right? You got to command the space and own the space. Otherwise, you might lose the attention of the guys in there. They might not, if they're not going to dial into you and like you touched on earlier, trust you. Then you're going to find it pretty hard to work with them and inspire them to get moving and get doing stuff. And it's really might change.
Basically, all they got is time in there. So when you come in, it's almost like changing the channel on TV. They know what you wore yesterday, today, everything. They know everything about you. But I love them. I love them. I'm serious. I love them. And matter of fact, I had a problem. The reason I left there was because the director said to me, somebody complained about proselytizing. I don't do that. I've been in this too long. I don't try to pull people into the kingdom. And so he told me if I didn't slow down, that he was going to take my hours or something. I said, let me tell you something. There's no switch on my neck. This is who I am. You don't shut this off. You know, I'm a kingdom believer. That's who I am. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave, but I'm going to train somebody for you. So I did. And then I volunteered and went back in and just taught out of the chapel, and all the guys came down there.
Great job. I love it. I love it how you kept, you did what you said you were going to do. You know, you can only be you. You can't be anyone else. You can get caught up sometimes trying to be someone else. I know I've done that. Maybe you've done that too, but that just leads to disappointment, you know, really, and unhappiness at scale, I find, because you get to one point one day and you think, you know, you start losing direction of who you are if you're trying to be not who you really truly are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's better to be a great original than a cheap copy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Too many people, they try to imitate, even in the music business or whatever, in preaching. Some people want to be Bishop Jakes, and he is my bishop, matter of fact. And I've spoken at the Potter's house. But, you know, people trying to be and imitate and wear the same clothes. And you can't do that. That's not how you make it. Even in the speaking industry, you've got to have your own voice. You know, you've got to be who you are. See, like Michael Jackson, Joe Cocker, James Brown, they were all different. You know, they were themselves, and they made it big because they didn't try to be somebody else. Yeah? Very important, your uniqueness. And like what you're doing, it's so wonderful. You know, I enjoy your accent, everything.
I'm pleased that you do. I'm pleased that you do. The Australians love an English accent. Well, actually, it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes, some places you go, they're like, yeah, I love your accent. Some people just can't understand you, but I just got to keep being me. I can't be anyone else, like we just said.
That's right.
I'd like to talk to you about self-confidence and self-esteem. You know, when you're at that young age, perhaps that was something you didn't have much of. And once you learn the value of it, you know, you certainly need, I think, a good degree of self-esteem and self-confidence to be on a stage and to be able to speak to others at scale and be able to put your message out there. But you must have had some kind of self-confidence and self-esteem performing from what you did in the music world. Did that kind of transfer over to the speaking world, or did you have to build it up again?
No, it's because even before I left school, we were in the battle of the bands. You know, we was playing in the God of the Vita and doing all that stuff, right? We were doing all. So I always been on stage. Before I even moved to the suburbs, me and my friends had a little band, and we would carry the drums down the street downtown because my uncles had a big reputation, and so they got us a job at this bar room. Nobody showed up, and we only knew 4 songs, but we went and we did it. So I had confidence just because of my family. They were bad. They, you know, the same family. One uncle built most of the city, all the schools. He did all the architecture work. In the same family, I had another uncle that was basically mafia. So, you know, I had the whole spectrum covered. So I grew up with a lot of confidence. But, you know, the thing was is that I was almost forced to fill a certain reputation for them. You know what I mean? People expect out of me, and I was like, I got a certain age. I said, I don't want to do that no more. I don't want to fight, you know. But also, you know, I have a black belt. I studied in Seoul, Korea, and when I was about 18, I started studying martial arts because of anger. You know, I was so angry that, you know, I would train 6 to 8 hours a day and got real good, real quick. And my teacher invited me to go to South Korea with him and train under the master there. So I stood a couple of months and learned, couldn't talk to anybody, couldn't even say water. and he got there, went and visited his family and left me with my instructors, which was good. So I had a lot of confidence there, you know, and I had a lot of respect in the city, in the streets, and even in the other environments. Because I always liked people. I always got along with people. I love people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people's person, just like me, brother. That's why we're here talking.
Right.
I think there's some great value in that. Martial arts, you know, whatever martial art you choose, or whether it's just mixed martial arts, it really does. I did it when I was younger as well. Didn't get to a good level at it, but I had to go in, and then there's something definitely to be said for the self-confidence it builds in a young man or a young woman to be able to hold your own, defend yourself, and you will know as well that teaches you discipline, right? Martial arts, it teaches you discipline.
And when I was working in, you know, I worked in a lot of juvenile detention centers too, and these were out in the woods, you know. So I would take the young boys back when I was training. I just turned 67, so I'm not kicking high no more. I kick low fast. but I would take them out in the woods and I'd get them all lined up, and they needed a father figure. That was the problem. They needed somebody who they would listen to, that they would respect. And because I knew the arts, I could get them lined up and I could begin to train them and encourage them and root them on, and they would act right. Matter of fact, even them, they would say, "Hey Dave, don't worry, we're not going to do anything while on your shift."
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't.
And in one of my books, matter of fact, this one here, right? I wrote a story about one of the kids. Now, this was 35 years ago. He had been in 15 foster homes when I met him, little kid, out of Boston. And I kept with him. And then once I left that job, about 30 years later, he saw me on TV being interviewed by a New England magazine or something like that. He got in touch with me. And I wrote his story in this book, because now he's almost a millionaire. Can you imagine that?
Huge transformation. 15 foster homes, that's an awful lot of homes, man. You must have been through a bit there.
He was only 15 years old when I met him, so he was angry. He was real angry. But he told me, he said, "I watched you." He said, "I watched you to see if you were for real." And like with the juveniles from the inner city and even in the prisons, they'll say, "I feel you." In other words, okay, I can feel you. I don't need to hear your words. I can tell if you're for real. And once you got that established, you're good to go. Even with the kids, I've seen a lot of them change and start to do better. And I lost that job because of Bibles too. Yeah. What happened was, I was in Boston at a youth detention center, and I had all the kids again reading them scripture, explaining a kingdom, not about being a Christian, about being a kingdom citizen. There's a big difference between religion, Christian, and kingdom citizen. That's why I have it called kingdom mindset development, to develop your understanding of the kingdom. Because really, I don't want to get preachy, but when Jesus came, the first thing he said was, "Repent, for the kingdom is at hand." He didn't say, "Here I am to save the day." He said, no, here's why I came, to be a door for you if you want to come in the kingdom. But anyway, it's amazing how love can touch hearts. And that's what it's all about, love. And being yourself. And I'm too old to be anybody else anyway.
Our friend Cassandra, Dr. K. Brown, is watching, and she said, "What's the name of your book?" You took it down too quickly to see the title, so hold it up there nice and clearly so we can see it.
This one here, right? So you want to be in the ministry? It's written for people who want to be in ministry, but you got to remember, the word ministry really means service. That's all it means. You can get this on Amazon, and if you've got Kindle Unlimited, it's free. So you can get that one there. And I also broke them up into curriculum. And this is another one. This one here, I'm going to be teaching more. I don't know if I got it there right. Yeah. What did you say? This is all about pulpit mannerisms, how to handle yourself on stage and speaking, and what to do, what not to do. A lot of things that we're learning now, I learned in Bible school. And so I put it all in this book. And again, your words, like for us as public speakers, your words are your tools. So the subtitle is, it's not what you say, but why, when, and how you say it. You see? You can tell anybody anything. If you say it right, they're all right with it.
Yeah, exactly right. I'll be including some links in the comments to those so everyone can find those easily. Now, I'd like to talk about, and we'll give the sizzle, not the steak here. We don't want to give the whole program away, but I know you have a 12-step faith-based counseling and coaching program designed for the mind. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that. I'd love to know some more about it.
Yeah, I call it's a faith-based program. Again, it's kingdom-minded development, and it's let's talk about it. So basically, it's whatever your it is, because I counsel you from the Word of God, and there's nothing that's happened on earth that's not in that book. It's just understanding where to get it and how to relate it to bring the there and then to the here and now. So the principle you grasp a hold of. See, so that's what I do with it. I use it in, with my program. I'm also anger management certified. So I deal with state troopers. They send, the captains send troopers down and things like that, and just help them understand that, listen, I'm not trying to get you in church. I'm not trying to make you anything you don't want to be. But in this kingdom, these things work because this is the king of the universe. This is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And so once you get the proper understanding, you're good to go. It's like Miles Monroe. You've heard Brother Les talk about Miles Monroe. Well, I used to sing him every now and then when he came by. But he taught me, he said, Dave, he says, you never talk to people outside of the church about Jesus. You talk to them about the kingdom. Once they come in, then you talk about Jesus. Just like if you want to come to the United States right now, you wouldn't be so concerned about Trump. It'd be like, man, America's a land of good and plenty. I'm going to go there and get what I can. And so, then you learn about Trump. So I always tell people, listen, Jesus, if you know the story, and whoever's listening, bear with me. He shed his blood, which was our passport. It paid the price. So he's really, like he said, the door and the way. He's the passport into this country called heaven. Now, when you come into that country, there's a constitution like London or Australia. If you want to live there, you've got to line up with the constitution before you can get the benefits, right?
Right.
Before you have access to what the country has to offer. So again, I teach people from the Word of God and just get them straight on it so that they're not running around spooky Christians and religious freaks and all that kind of stuff. Amen. I don't care. I'm from the streets. I don't care. I'm going to tell it like it is. Okay. And so they get it and they go, wow. Even a lot of Jewish people that I've met and I've talked to, when I explain it to them, that they, oh yeah, I get it. They're not offended because this is the truth. So, the program's a good program. I call it 12 steps because there was 12 disciples and there's 12 gates in Jerusalem and there's 12-step programs everywhere. So everybody knows about it.
Yeah, makes sense to me. And it's interesting. I do like the way you deliver it, Dave, because I'll say openly, I'm not a religious man. I'm a spiritual guy. I'm a man of the universe. That's what I believe in. That's what I subscribe to. But I think it's great that you can deliver your message in a way that doesn't have to always directly attach to Jesus and to Christ and to God, but still, give the message. And to that end, the Bible, I've never read the Bible cover to cover, but I hear things that people that say out the Bible, extracts now and again, scripture as it's known, obviously. And I'm like, yes, that makes sense to me, because it doesn't always have to directly relate to the religion and the religious path. It's a lot of the things in there. That's why people call it, and Les calls it the book of life, right? Because it's essentially a book about many of the things that happen in people's lives, right?
That's it. And if people want, I just invite people. If they want to come, fine. If they don't want to come, that's fine. I'm going to love you and pray anyway. But you say you haven't read the Bible. I have 18 Bibles that I've read from the table of contents to the book of maps and highlight, because this is who I am. I'm a kingdom citizen. And, there's certain instructions in the book that tell us that we're peculiar people, that we're visiting this planet. We're not here forever. None of us are really. But things like that, I'm sold out. I'm just sold out. Like when I got with John or with Les, there was no payment plan. It's like, here, I'm all in. I'm going to learn. I trust you because I can feel your heart. And I love all you guys. Everybody is so encouraging and exciting. And because of y'all, listen, I got a grandson, 33 years old. I got great grandbabies. So when I watch you all, I get excited for you. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, I'm only a year younger than your grandson there, so yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, I wanna close it with if you could give three pieces of advice, and you don't have to stop at three. You know, you're a speaker, go for as long as you like there. But you know, some advice that's really talking to young men out there today, and young women, of course, as well, that maybe have dropped out, or maybe thinking about dropping out, or have just lost their direction and their purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is don't quit. Don't quit, because you're going to get your social structure together, at least through high school, you know? And then I would say, once you leave school, if you want to go to college, fine. But I would, if I were you, pursue your passion. Now you know how to talk, you know how to communicate, things like that. So now go after that dream that's inside of you, that thing that God put there, that gift that you have, that thing that won't ever leave you, that's always in your face. Like with me, with my guitar, I've taken it everywhere with me. I've been a merchant seaman, took it all over the world on the ships and things like that there, because I love it and would play for no money like I do, right? So I would tell them, don't quit school. And next thing I would say is always be yourself. Don't give in to the bullies. Don't give in to people trying to pressure you. You know, be who you are. Be proud of yourself, because you are special. You are individual, and you are gifted. And I would encourage them like that. And the girls, I would tell them, listen, you gotta be careful now, because you know, I say boys are funny. You know what I mean? They're not like you. Boys are like hit it and split it. You know, when you get emotionally involved, you don't want anybody to mess up your heart at a young age. And again, I have great grandchildren. So, you know, I started young, and my oldest daughter, who's 45 and just graduated out of Harvard with a doctorate degree, she started young too. But so to encourage them to, you know, be themselves, you know, pursue their passion, pursue their dream, get around people who will encourage you, like Miss Morris did for me, and Dr. Axtell. They saw something in me, and I put myself in a situation where I would not be the smartest person in my circle. You know what I mean? And I went into things where I would have to learn, and and your attitude will determine your altitude in life. You've got to have the right attitude. So you have to make sure you're around what's let's call them OQP, only quality people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Man. When John talks about the committee.
yeah. Meaning,
And I think if they do that, and they stick with their heart, they follow their heart, as long as it's good and positive, they're going to be all right. The money will come. That's not even, it's just ink on paper. That'll come. If you're doing what's right, you're happy, and you're helping other people. See, that's the key. The whole motive is, are you helping people? So I would really encourage them to do that. Don't be selfish, be selfless. You'll be all right. You'll be taken care of, you know. So things like that. And if they ever need me, call me. I give them my card, tell them call. See, when I had my church in the city, I just sold the building not too long ago, but I built an apartment in the city, in the hood. So there was people coming by at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, banging on my windows. But I would open the door always and help them, you see. And that's what it's all about. We're in this business of public speaking to encourage people, to help them. And I would encourage these kids the same way. And go when I go into the schools, and just first thing I do is I apologize for my generation, because it was my generation, the 60s and early 70s, that were crazy. And we didn't care about nothing. We was having babies like there was candy, and just leaving and running around and what you want to do. And then the generations that followed, you know, they bore the brunt of it. So I go in and I tell them, please apologize. I'm sorry for my generation, your father, your grandfather, what they didn't do. You know, it was this kind of time, and please accept my apology for them. And they're kind of all right with it. You know, I also have a ministry for 30 years in Boston called Freedom Ministries, where we transport mothers, mainly of incarcerated youth, all over Massachusetts for free. And that's because they need to be connected to their family and their mom. So kids out there are good. They just need somebody that'll love on them, and somebody they can respect.
Yeah, I agree more. Just a good role model, right? A solid role model. You know, a lot of people in the world, unfortunately, don't grow up with one. But you know, being that person who can provide, as you have to probably, well, not, I don't need to say probably, I know you have to so many young people. And yeah, to that end, just thank you for your service, Dave. I really appreciate what you do. You know, I don't live over there in America, but it's inspiring to see what you do. And part of the thing that I want to do in speaking is actually speak to the youth as well. You know, they're 40% of our population, but 100% of our future. And one day, you know, one day no one lives forever. When you're gone, how's the legacy going to live on? If you're speaking to the youth, you know, they're going to carry that message on. So I think everyone's important to speak to, and everyone's important that they're heard. But I think the youth, more than anything, are the ones who really need to be heard. Number one, and need to hear the good positive messages and have good role models. Number two.
That's right. That's right. They go through a lot. You know, the peer pressure in junior high school and high school is horrendous for some. And I was always the kind that protected the underdog. So usually when I got in trouble and fighting, it was because I was protecting the fat kid with the glasses or somebody that they were fun of. You know, that was me.
Yeah, that was me. That's me too.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Jake, because you can touch the hearts of a lot of young people. You know, they're looking for like an avenue like this where they can express themselves and be encouraged. You're going to touch a lot of lives because you care and you're out there now. You know what I mean? With the podcast, you're out there. They're going to be listening and watching.
Yeah, yeah.
I thank you for this opportunity because, you know, the way I am, it's not, you know, for everybody. Put it that way. And I get it. You know, it's all right. But like I said, there's no switch on my neck. This is who I am, and God's taking good care of me. Had a liver transplant, heart attacks. I've been through a lot, bro.
Wow.
But God,
yeah. Well, you know, as I say, David, real recognizes real, right? And there's no surprise that you are here. And I was always looking forward to getting you on ever since we first talked about it. It took a while to get it to happen, and I'm glad it did happen. And I'd love to have you on again at some point.
I really appreciate your invitation, and I pray that everybody out there has heard something they can use to help somebody else.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Dr. David, I'm going to drop your website in the comments here, drdavidspencer.com. Is that the best place everyone can find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah. The website's up. It's being worked on a little, but it's up there. And yeah, that's the best place. And on the website, my phone number's there because I'm kind of old school, you know, this computer stuff. You can call, you know, or something. But yeah, I'm available. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do a podcast with from Champion Mindset. 4 of us are getting together that deal with youth, and we want to do a webinar to principals and schools, you know, to kids that are at home. Because it's easy to drop out when you're at home now. You know, that's, you know, they can just shut you off. You know? So
I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been great to have you on, sir. I look forward to catching up with you soon inside our groups together.
All right, my brother Jake. Thank you again, and God bless you. I'm praying for you.
Thanks, David. Take care.
Okay. Bye.